So I don't want this to come across as completely pessimistic or negative, but unfortunately with most uncomfortable truths, they're going to come across that way because most people don't want to have their illusions and their fantasies completely destroyed. But I want to dive into the topic of love, or what we think is love. I think that most of the time when we think that we're falling in love, what we're actually experiencing is a very extreme attachment to another person. I believe that we create many unnecessary problems for ourselves due to this desire for an attachment. We think it's love, we think we want love, but really we just want to have this sort of attachment to another person. We're under the illusion when this happens, when you're with somebody new and you really love them a lot, you think you're really attached to them, you want to be around them all the time, you guys have this great chemistry, this great bond. We're under this illusion that we're falling in love, but we're not falling in love. We're just lonely, horny, little chimp-minded people. Finally now someone came into our life and is giving us this love and affection that we desire. Someone's finally giving it to us, so now we have to hold on for dear life. You know what I mean? Is this the case for every single person? No. Is this the case for many people? I think so. Understand that anybody who gets divorced never thought they were going to get divorced. Anybody who gets married does so when they're going through this very intense, usually I would imagine, if they're both very excited about the marriage, when they're going through this very intense attachment stage, everything it's all very emotion based. It all feels very real. And this is why emotions can be tricky, because they feel very real in the moment. They have to. That's the only thing we can go by, is the way that we feel in that moment. And I always say that you should live more from your intuition and the way that you feel, and not so much from your logical mind, but you can't do that 100%. And this is a perfect scenario. When you are going through this very strong attachment to somebody else, you have to let the logical mind come into play a little bit, because most people get so blindsided by this. Like when you date someone and there's just so many obvious things about them that are very questionable, and maybe people, your friends and your family, are trying to tell you like, well, what about this? Like, this is a little strange, or maybe they're treating you poorly, and you just completely ignore it because you're so like enthralled in that moment. You have such an emotional connection with this person. You think that they're not like anybody else and they're perfect, and they're so different than anybody I've been with before. Listen, everybody feels like that during this attachment phase, during this initial strong chemistry, this strong bond that we feel. We have to feel like that. We have to get very connected to other people. This is why would you ever want to have kids with somebody if you didn't feel this? If you didn't feel this very strong oxytocin drug-like chemistry with another person. Do you understand what I'm saying? The point of this video is you have to stop falling for this idea of what you think love is, because it's not it. The vast majority of the time, it's just a very strong ego attachment to another person who you think is fulfilling needs that aren't met within yourself. Most people don't do any sort of real inner work. They don't recognize things like their attachment styles, their wounds, their abandonment wounds, maybe if they were neglected, if they were abused. Most people don't even take any of this into consideration and really do the work to understand their own behavioral patterns, their own negative behavioral patterns that affect them. So of course people, I don't like using the word most, but I would probably say the vast majority of people just blindly go into relationships, not thinking logically about anything, not recognizing their own faults. They just go into these situations blindly. They get super attached, and then everything crumbles eventually. Relationships are not meant to make you happy. That's not the purpose of them. And most people are just living from the chimp monkey mind, where they just want immediate gratification and happiness. Relationships are meant for your own growth. It's for the growth of both of the people involved. It's meant for you to recognize all of your unconscious behavioral patterns, because our romantic relationships are just a reflection of the relationships that we've had with our parents. And this is now your sort of opportunity to heal all those parts of yourselves that maybe you didn't get to heal, with your parents, or it's an opportunity to really heal your inner child. Relationships don't bring happiness. That's not the intention behind them. They're not meant to make you feel good. They're meant for you to become a better person. They're meant for self-growth. They're meant for you to become more conscious. Because as Carl Jung famously says, the only way to become more conscious is to bring the unconscious, is to bring the darkness inside of you out into the light. And through relationships is usually how that darkness comes out. Look at the way that you act when somebody hits a sore spot in you. Like if your spouse or your whatever, your significant other says like this one thing that really bothers you and you get all angry. That's an opportunity there to reflect and grow when you notice that's happening. Notice what happens when you don't hear from them maybe for a couple of days, or they don't text you back in a adequate amount of time, and you start getting all upset and scared. That is supposed to happen. That's for you to recognize that you have some sort of an abandonment wound, and you're fearful of them leaving you. And what happens is we're so scared of these sorts of facing this pain and these abandonment stuff that we'll literally do anything to keep this person happy. Like we'll sacrifice our whole lives, we'll sacrifice everything. We've all seen that before. We've probably done it where we sacrifice everything for somebody else who doesn't give us anything in return, or at least not the same level that we're giving them. I've noticed this a lot. I've noticed this especially, as a male and just with other men. They put so much stock in a woman's beauty. Like she could be an absolutely horrible person, but just based on, I'm not saying this doesn't happen to women too, but just based on the way that a woman looks, a man will give all of his money, all of his time, just completely ruin himself just for this idea, for this fantasy of what he thinks is love. And it's never, ever love. I guarantee you. Love doesn't work that way. Love is not something that immediately is going to happen in the beginning. As much as I hate quoting the Bible, love is patient and love is kind. It's something that happens over a very long period of time, and it grows between two people. And I have seen this before, but I think it's more rare in this day and age with just the way that our society is. Most people are not very conscious. They're not into doing sort of, healing their inner child or doing inner work or spiritual work or things of that nature. They're just into sort of this instant gratification of getting what they want out of life, right? And it's a trap. You got to understand that whole thing is a huge trap that people constantly fall into in the beginning. They mistake the attachment for true love. And you have to start recognizing when this happens to you. I'm basically immune to it. It doesn't happen to me, and not because I'm better or smarter or anything like that, but because I started calling myself out on all of my nonsense and recognizing my very unconscious behavioral patterns when I meet somebody new that I really like, and I start getting overly attached right away. That's the kind of stuff that you have to just start noticing it more and shine that light on it. Notice the way you feel if if you're a more lonely person, say, and you don't meet people often, you notice how the minute that someone might give you attention or might compliment you or might go out of their way for you, you just start getting super attached to this person right away, and you start fantasizing about them, and you have all these sort of limerent fantasies. That is a sign that there's something within you that needs to be healed, and it has nothing to do with the other person. You see what I'm saying? And this stuff will start to become very obvious when you start recognizing it, and when you could start calling yourself out on your own bullshit. That's the only way that I was able to get over this and to heal this, and why I'm just not one of those people that's all obsessive about relationships. And it's not because there's something, it's not because I'm like some weird hermit. It's because I recognize that that's not how truly to love someone. That's not how it works. It's so beyond that. Love is not just this limited little emotion that you feel when you have a sexual or romantic compatibility with somebody. Love is literally the highest level of consciousness in the universe. It's literally everything. It's what the universe is made of. But we limit it so much to this physical attraction and sexual chemistry. I think this is why spiritual couples, people who are very dedicated to the path, from what I've seen personally, usually have very healthy relationships. They understand the importance of communication. They're able to take accountability and recognize when they're wrong, and they're able to admit this. They're able to communicate to each other really well. These are the kinds of things that takes serious effort and growth. And this is what most people are not willing to put effort and time. This is not people don't want to do this. They just want that immediate sort of gratification from a relationship. You got to be very careful, and you really have to take your time when you meet somebody new. You know, people want to rush into things so quickly. I think that the physical intimacy is not something that should always happen right in the beginning. I mean, it can sometimes, but that's going to just make that attachment and that bond even stronger. And you might be forming an attachment to somebody that you really shouldn't be. You know, I think people underestimate the importance of that sexual chemistry and of just physical attraction in general. I think a lot of it is really just based off of lust and physical attraction, sexual attraction, and that chemistry you have with somebody. And I just really think people are mistaking that for love. I think it's just easy when you're not very conscious to get sucked into that trap. And that's basically what I'm telling you to avoid. You have to really take your time in the beginning and really understand yourself, how you work, how you get quickly attached to people, how maybe you're very avoidant of when other people get attached to you. You have to really take your time understanding how the other person works. This stuff really takes time and patience. And trust me, I understand that that is a hard thing to do nowadays with the way things are, with social media and the apps and all of this. It's not an easy thing to find somebody who's willing to also do this type of work, to also really take your time navigating through a relationship, to really allow it to grow and blossom. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people want that. I think they just want the quick little, fantasy world love, the little fantasy love thing that that people are all searching for. In my opinion, you should not settle for anything less than this. You should take your time. You should take your time really finding that. And if you don't, then you should learn to just be content alone, because being alone is a great thing. If you're the type of person who's always getting jealous and you see other couples and other people and you're like, I want that. And you feel like you can't just be content because you feel like you need that in order to complete you, you have to let that go. You have to understand that that's an illusion and it's not real. Most of what you're seeing, if you see on like social media and stuff, it's just two people trying to showcase their attachment to the world. True couples, couples who are truly happy with each other and have truly done the work aren't really going to be broadcasting their relationship to the world, I don't think, like that, with all the pictures and the flamboyant, social media stuff. I think two people who are truly happy and truly content go through very difficult and hard times, but they always come out of it stronger people. It takes a lot of work, I think. And I'm not a relationship expert by any means. I still have a lot of my own issues that I notice come up when I'm dating somebody. I struggle with a lot of avoidance is my biggest thing, but I recognize it and I see it's there. And it doesn't mean that maybe I handle every situation perfectly, but I always am willing to take accountability and say, like, this is what I have to work on. And that's what you have to do too. You have to be willing to call yourself out on your own nonsense. That's extremely important. So, I don't know, that's really all I have for today, but stop getting sucked into this idea of love and falling in love. Society has brainwashed us with all of this romance stuff and all these novels and this and that this is what true satisfaction, true fulfillment, or true growth with another person is supposed to look like. It's not. I'm telling you, that's not what it looks like. There are many sort of conscious couples out there that I think are into just intelligent people who are able to take accountability. They're able to call themselves out, call each other out. I think that those types of couples are good role models of this, and you will find them sometimes. They might not be as common. And ask them and talk to them, especially older couples that have been together for years and maybe still seem like they're doing well. There's probably a lot you can learn there. But yeah, that's basically the idea of this video, is that initial attraction that you feel to somebody, it's just your ego wanting something, wanting to feel loved, wanting to have needs met or fulfilled that it probably didn't at one point in time or doesn't now. Or it's just loneliness and boredom. That's another one that I've noticed. Very lonely people get very easily attached to others. So maybe you just need to build a more fulfilling life for yourself that doesn't have to do with relationships. But But anyway, that's all I have for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you think. I'm sure I probably missed some things. It's important with my content is to just take the fundamental message. Don't worry about all of the little nuances or all the little mistakes I might make. I'm not going to be able to cover everything in a 15, 20-minute video. Just understand, take away the fundamental message that I'm trying to with any YouTube video, with anybody, any teaching. Just take away the fundamental message. Don't nitpick all of the little details. So, all right. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.